everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Jackie. I hope you hit that subscribe button to be notified whenever I upload a new video. My basket full of makeup, it ripped my heart out. I read 16 books. Hello friends, let's chat about the books that I read in August while doing my makeup. So I obviously already did my makeup. I already talked you through everything. This is just going in the beginning to introduce what I did in this video. This has been like my go-to, my favorite products, how I get this face. So I combined my two loves, me getting ready, you know how I love doing these get ready with me videos, and then now I get to chat with you my love of books. So I combined those two and I really enjoyed this. Without further ado, let's just jump into the video. Here is me talking about books that I read in August plus the ratings while I get ready with you. Hello, so let's start our makeup. Right beside me I have my basket full of makeup. This is just how I do my makeup. I come out into the living room, my bedroom, and I just bring this basket with me and do my makeup wherever here in my apartment. I don't have a set place. So today I'm going to do it with you while we chat about the books that I read in August. Also, if you see me looking off to the side, I have a mirror set up, and also it has a light. So that might turn on and off in the video, so beware of that, but I'm going to set it up, keep it on. So if I'm looking over here, it's because I'm looking to do my makeup and I'm trying not to focus on the camera too much. So yeah, let's turn it down a little bit. I think we can turn it down. Yeah, so let's get started and let me do my face while I talk about the first book that I read. So I have my Kindle beside me and also my iPad. It has my reading journal up of the books that I read in August, and I took some notes so this video wouldn't be a mess, thankfully, and I have points to talk about. So I read 10 books, I believe, on my Kindle, and they were all on Kindle Unlimited, so that is fun. I really was on a Kindle Unlimited kick for some reason. So yeah, let's just start off my makeup while I chat you through the first book. The first book I read August 1st was Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. I saw this on Book Talk. I actually saw a TikTok recommending all kinds of cowboy romances, so I wanted to get more into it because I love the Chestnut Spring series and I was just enjoying the cowboy aesthetic. So I got really into it and read that first, and that was a very good pick because I loved it and I gave it 5 stars. It was a small town brother's best friend romance, and I love those kind of books, and this one did it so well. So our main character, Clementine, product won't come out for some reason. There it goes. Clementine, or she goes by Emmy Ryder. I love that her last name is Ryder. And the male main character, Luke Brooks, which he is such a good main character. Loved him so much as well. So Emmy had an accident. She was like a professional rider, not bull rider, a professional horse rider, I believe. I should be looking at my notes. She is a barrel racer, so she goes to like the rodeo circuit and she's like a national championship or something like that, or she's a professional barrel racer, which I find so cool, and I was enjoying with a lot of books that you'll be seeing in this month's reading wrap up. So she moves back to her hometown and her dad and brother are there, and she gets to go back home. She has like this cute little cottage, and she also has a best friend, and I love her and her best friend. They were so fun to read about. She's helping at her family's ranch and she's not writing anymore, and of course her brother's best friend works at the ranch too. He's also a bar owner. I believe that his dad gives him the bar, and or he inherits it. So Emmy and Luke's friendship is really cute. I love how they didn't really like get along at first, and then they decided to just become friends, and then it just started like, this is well done, like friends to lovers, because they started off as friends, but their friendship was just so organic, and I love the progression between this friends to lovers. I read a book, which I'll talk about later, that drove me insane. But this one was really good, how it portrayed the friendship, and there wasn't like any like should we or shouldn't we, which I really liked about it. So that's why I gave it 5 stars. It was just so cute, just a great small town cowboy romance, and I really enjoyed reading it, and I was so excited to talk about it in my reading wrap up. So yay, I'm finally here getting to chat about one of my favorite books I think I read in August. Now we're moving on to the second book, which is On the Shore by Laura Pavlov, I believe is how you say her name. So this one was great as well. It's the third book in the Cottonwood Cove series. I've been really enjoying the series. It follows like siblings in a small town, and they have quirky characters, and it's just so good. This one is a very enemies to lovers romance. So it was kind of annoying at first how much they hated each other, but the main character, Brinkley Reynolds. So Brinkley is a sports writer, and she was trying to get a big scoop on the hottest NFL player. NFL is football, yes. NFL, because he's a professional football player. His name's Lincoln Hendricks, and he's like the #1 thing that's happened in football recently. She goes back to her hometown, Cottonwood Cove, and she's just laying low with her family for the time being while she looks for another sports reporter job, because she really loves it. She loves writing about sports. And then Mr. Football Player Lincoln Hendricks decides to go on a vacation before the football season starts up, whatever it's called. I'm not a sports girly, unfortunately. The only sports that I technically know about is because of books. And then they run into each other in a coffee shop, and they accuse each other of him like trying to follow her, and then her trying to follow him to get a sports interview with her. So it's very like enemies to lovers, and they don't really like each other. They just clash all the time. The female main character's personality, Brinkley, is very fiery. So she like doesn't stand down and like fights her way, and they end up finally agreeing to help each other out. He needs to get an interview out there, so she decides to have her interview him, and that's when they slowly start like working together. And at first, of course, it's rocky, but in the end they get there, and I really liked it. I enjoyed it. Wasn't like too sports romancy. It was a little bit. You see like his behind the scenes and why he's like how he is. And yeah, I just love Lincoln and Brinkley, and I really enjoyed the dynamic and both of them together. So that was fun. I gave it a 4 stars, I believe. Next book we're moving on to is back-to-back sports romances, plus they're the third book in their series. I read Unravel Me by Becca Mack, and this one is the third book in the Playing for Keeps series, and instead of football, this one is hockey. I do love this hockey romance. I started reading it the first of the year, the first book, and I fell in love with it. I love this series so much. So when I saw it was on Kindle Unlimited finally, I had no idea when it was going to be released, so I was so excited to get to see it on my Kindle, and I downloaded it right away, and I read it as soon as possible, as you can see. So since it's the third book in its series, we already were introduced to the male main character, which his name is Adam Lockwood, and he is such a teddy bear, just like the rest of the men in this series. They are such like alpha males, but they have a cute teddy bear side once you get to know them. But Adam is really like shy and nervous around new women. He just got out of a very toxic long-term relationship. My battery died, so where was I? I think I was getting to the meet cute. So it was a very cute meet cute this book had. So if you love dogs, you'll love this book. I love dogs, so this was like the perfect book for me because it talked a lot about dogs. So Adam has like this big Mastiff, I think is what the dog breed is. It's like that giant big mountain dog, like that is so fluffy and so cute. So he has one of those. He goes on a hike after having a bad evening with his ex, I believe. And then he meets Rosie, our main character. And it's such a cute way how they meet. Like, he was going date after date that was going wrong, and he meets her and they become friends. So this one was a friends to lovers as well, but done in the right way that I enjoyed it. I like that as soon as I start talking about dogs, the neighborhood dog starts barking away. She is a vet student and she is a single mother. She had a baby with a very bad ex. Like, he is a terrible person. Her little boy is named Connor and he's so cute. I believe he's 15 months old. So at first she doesn't tell him about her child, and then he goes over to her place, and then the child and him meet, and it's just so cute how protective he is. And you see the other characters from this series, all the hockey boys are in it, and it's so cute. Carter, who is from book 1, who's literally one of my favorites, he shows up and he's still his like very crazy, chaotic, fun loving teddy bear self. So I love getting to see a glimpse of him with his daughter and Olivia. So that was fun. You also have the characters from book 2, which is Carter's sister, Jenny, and Garrett is in it. That's her boyfriend, which is another hockey guy on the team. And you just see their dynamic. Really cute story. Like, there's a lot of dog talk because she's a vet student going to school to become a veterinarian. And I just loved it so much, and I gave it a 4 stars. So pretty good book in my opinion. Now we're moving on to the 4th book that I read, and I'm going to probably spend hours talking about this 4th book. It's called Rewrite Our Story by Kat Singleton, and honestly, I think this might be my #1 book. I did love Done and Dusted. I said it was one of my favorites, but this one was definitely my favorite book of August so far, and maybe top 5 for 2023. This is another small town cowboy romance. It is second chance romance. It's best friend's brother. So instead of brother's best friend, she doesn't have a brother. It's her best friend who has a brother. So let me stop doing my makeup for a second to chat with you with this book because I have to give you all of the attention. Anyways, I got my base pretty much done. So I didn't know about this book going in. I went in blind like most books. I see a few things about it, like if it's cowboy romance, sports romance, stuff like that, but I don't really know the basis when I pick my books. So I just picked it because it was a cowboy romance, again from the recommendation video that I saw on TikTok. So we have the main character, which her name is Marigold. I love that. Like, her name is so pretty. I've never met anyone named Marigold, maybe because I'm not in the South. So that is really fun. Her friend calls her Mare, and like everyone else calls her Mare, but the main character, Cade, calls her Goldie. I was like, that is so cute that he calls her Goldie. Like, that is such a cute nickname, and only he calls her that, which I found so precious. She grows up with him, so it's like childhood friends to lovers as well, because they live right next to each other on different ranches in this like small mountain kind of town, you know, those kind of like picturesque ranch small towns, which I love the vibe of it. I should have checked trigger warnings, but I didn't. But her mom ends up passing away. Like, that is the first part of this book, and I just started bawling in the first chapter of this book. It really reminded me of 1,000 Boy Kisses, where it like grips you and squeezes your heart right away. So I was like, oh no, like this happens. Her best friend's mom is always there for her. She like becomes a second mom to her. And then later on in the book, she moves away, I think for college, and she never goes back to her hometown. And that's where like she was starting to have a relationship with Cade. The only reason she's back in town is because her best friend and Cade's mother passes away, and coincidentally she has the same name as my mom, Linda, in the book. So every time, like when they did her like funeral eulogy, because Goldie is a writer, so she got to speak at the funeral, and like the way this was written, I was bawling my eyes out because I did lose my mom 3 years ago. And coincidentally, since the book had the same name as my mom, like every time they mentioned it, it felt like I was back there. And that's why I gave this book 5 stars, because it just related to me so much, and it was just like, it ripped my heart out. It tugged at my heartstrings because I could really like feel the emotions and how good the writing was. So that's why I gave this book like a 5 stars. It was just so good. While I'm doing my contour, we'll talk about the 5th book that I read. I believe I've lost track of what number we're on, but I read 13 Candles by Sienna Judd, and again, it is a cowboy romance. I was on a really cowboy kick apparently this month, and I couldn't get enough. I was trying to get all the Kindle Unlimited cowboy fix out of the way. I kind of regret reading this after we write our story, because that book was so good, so anything after it wouldn't compare in comparison. So I still enjoyed it. I did give it a 3 stars. It is a single dad cowboy small town romance. The main character, Sam Ryder, is a special ed teacher. She is new to the town, and she teaches all the special needs children because Colt, who is the cowboy male main character, has a daughter who has Down syndrome. So that was really cool, seeing like different representation for that. I didn't expect it, so that was nice seeing that. And the relationship they have together was very cute. How Sam deals with his kid, and how like she knows how to handle, I mean, it's her job and she's really good at her job, but like she takes it outside, and she's so excited to show Sam the ranch, and it was very cute. It says it's supposed to be enemies to lovers, but they just had a disagreement, I believe, in the beginning, and it wasn't really like, I hate you, you hate me. No, it was just like, I don't like you, you have an opinion, and I don't like your opinion kind of thing. So yeah, it wasn't anything to that sort, but I still enjoyed it, so I gave it a 3 stars, and it was pretty good for a quick cowboy romance. The next book, which is by Hannah Bonham Young, and it is called Out on a Limb. So another book talk recommendations. This kept getting 5 stars from all the book talk people that I follow, so I was like, okay, let me try it out. But they said to be warned of, it is accidental pregnancy, and I don't mind that trope. I quite enjoy it. I might be one of the weird ones who likes that kind of trope. I don't really mind. I don't have anything that I really don't like, unless it's like friends to lovers done really badly. That's the only one where I'm like, So this book is amazing. So this is the most realistic book that I've read. Sometimes I read books that are just so far-fetched, where they're billionaires and like they can hop on a private jet to somewhere in like 5 seconds. This one wasn't like that. It had the most realistic meetup ever, the most realistic kind of people. Their jobs were normal. They were like struggling. They weren't like, oh, let's just buy this like $1 million thing like it's nothing. So it was very realistic. So they meet at a Halloween party. Her name is Winifred, which is, I feel like, a very Halloween name. I don't know. But she goes by Win, and she meets this guy named Bo at the Halloween party. He's dressed as a pirate. She's dressed as a pirate. It's because he has a prosthetic leg, and there's something wrong with her arm. Or no, her hand. So she has like a hook. So she's like Captain Hook, and like he has a peg leg. So I thought that was really cute, and like they're so okay with their disabilities that they make fun of them. They make fun of themselves for, which if you can't make fun of yourself for something wrong with you, like usually that's what we do, right? So they're really like cool, laid back people, and they meet, something happens, and then 3 weeks later, or 4 weeks, however the time frame, she ends up pregnant. So this was just so realistic in the way that she contacts the guy and is like, hey, I'm having a baby. If you like want it, like, okay, if you don't, like, I'll raise the baby myself. Like, and then the first thing he says, like, are you okay? Like, he's so genuine and like concerned, is like, are you okay? Not like some over the top reaction or anything. Very realistic. So if you want like something that isn't so far-fetched and you're like, I need something that relates to real life a little bit, this is the book for you. For some reason, I imagine Bo as Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. I don't know why I saw that in my head. Like, honestly, I don't know, but like in my head, he like looked like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. But everything is just so sweet, and like they move in together with each other for the baby, but of course they slowly start to fall for each other. Very organic, very realistic. 5 stars for me. Love this book so much. I read more by the same author, Hannah Bonham Young. I hope I'm saying that right. So I had to read her next series. Like, it's called Next, not like the next series. It's called like the next series because of the title of the books. So I read Next of Kin by her, and this one is also very realistic. It wasn't as realistic, I feel like, as Out on a Limb, but it was still very like true to life, but I had a little bit of not thing to it, because would Child Protective Services make you move in with a guy you do not know just so you can adopt your baby sister that you just learned about, plus move in with a guy who is trying to get custody of his younger brother? So that, I don't know, that could happen in real life. It takes place in Canada, so maybe it's different over there. I have no idea. But the main character, Chloe, she has a birth mom. She gets adopted because her mom neglects her, and her mom has all kinds of problems, or her birth mom, I should say. So she has to deal with all this, but she gets adopted into a kind family. All her friends don't know that she was like adopted. I don't think she like mentions that or anything. But Child Protective Services called her one day. She's like an adult now, I think. She's like 23, 24. So it's not like a teen trying to adopt her baby sister. So she learns that her mom had a new baby, is not doing good. Like, she can't take care of this little newborn. So the agency asked, do you want to take custody of her? So she has like a 3-bedroom apartment from her college days, so she has like that. She has a pretty decent job being like a freelance graphic designer. It's not the best, so she needs like help financially, I believe. And then the guy she gets paired up with, he doesn't have an apartment, but he has like the financial means, because he is a mechanic at like a garage or one of those like car repair kind of things. I mean, that's where mechanic works, right? So she really wants her baby sister. So I can relate. I always wanted a baby sister. Never got one, but she wants to be responsible for her baby sister. So she accepts the opportunity and lets the guy move into her like 3-bedroom loft apartment that's like really nice apparently. And then Warren, he has a brother who is deaf, and since Chloe grew up with her dad being deaf as well, she knows sign language, so the brother falls in love with her first, and like they become friends. And Warren is a little standoffish because he doesn't want, like, he wants to do everything himself. He's a very independent like guy. He just wants to be there for the duration of the period and then move out when they find an apartment. But of course they slowly fall for each other, and it's like a little bit enemies to lovers, but I feel like it has a bit of insta love, because technically, since it's so like they're always together, they end up having a friendship. And he slowly feels bad because Chloe has a little sister named Willow, and Willow needs, like, she's a baby, she needs taken care of, and you just see the dynamic between them, and they slowly fall for each other. And I really liked it. It was a fun story, and I gave it a 4 star. The next one is called Next to You, and it's about the side characters from the first book. So Chloe's best friend, and then I guess Warren's not best friend but close friend, they end up getting that repair garage together, and they inherited from like the uncle or something like that. So Lane is the main character in this one. She has a twin sister, and there's stuff going down with the twin sister as well. And this is a fun read. I read this whole book while I was at jury duty one day. Like, I started it the night before jury duty and ended up reading the whole entire thing that day, because all you do at jury duty is sit there for your name to be called. So I just brought my Kindle and read this whole entire book. So honestly, all I remember from this book is just sitting in that room with everyone else waiting for our names to be called. But I still enjoyed this book. It was friends to lovers, but the only thing that I do not like about this book, it was a friends to lovers that was like, oh, we shouldn't get together because it will ruin our friendship. I don't really like that. I mean, that is my opinion. I'm not the kind of person who likes that in books. Like, if you're gonna get together, just get together. Like, I like the organic, we're friends but we slowly fall for each other kind of friends to lovers, not like we were friends for the whole year. They met at Chloe and Warren's New Year's Eve party, they kissed at midnight, and then a year and a half later they're just friends still. And you can always tell that he had a thing for her, but she was always scared and she's not ready for like a relationship or anything like that. It was one of those, which, yeah, so I gave it a 4 stars for that. I should give it like a 3.75 instead, because I really despise that aspect of it. But it was really cute seeing their friendship form, because Lane ends up not knowing what she wants to do with her life. Like, all her friends are getting married, and I really understand her situation, because like everyone around you is in a relationship and you're over here like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I'm this age, I should be doing something. So with her inheritance from when her father passed, he gave her some money, so she buys a school bus. And since Matt is also a mechanic, they have a deal where instead of her paying him, she would work for the mechanic shop and like do graphic design, because she's also a graphic designer like Chloe was. So she did the work for that, while the two mechanics, Warren and Matt, helped her, and they all pitched in together, this friend group. It's very found family. So I really liked it. It's just the friends to lovers thing, like, minus it for me. That's it. But overall, pretty good story. Love Matt and his family. Lane's storyline with her twin sister is crazy as well. But yeah, I liked it despite the friends to lovers thing. So gave it a 4 star on Goodreads, but my honest rating would be 3.75. Now, that is all the books that I read on my Kindle at the moment, because I switched over to paperback books. So I was like, okay, let me just sit down and start reading. I did pick up Big Summer the 1st of August because I needed to finish it, but it took me 2 weeks to really like finish that book. It wasn't because I didn't like it, it was because I just wanted to read on my Kindle and not pick up a physical book. But I forced myself, and I'm glad I did, because it was such a good read. So instead of just holding up the book, I'm just going to put the image up like I've been doing. So this was a book that I got at an independent used bookstore July, I believe. It was in my book haul. It was such a fun day. I bought it because of the cover, but the back sounded interesting after I read it. It is not a romance like I thought it was. There is a male love interest, but that's not like the focus of the story. It isn't like they fall in love and then it has a mystery subplot. This was mostly a actual mystery where you help solve it. So I felt like I was in Scooby-Doo. I should read more of these because I was very entertained by that. The main character's name is Daphne Berg, and she is a plus size fashion blogger, fashion influencer, whatever you call it. And I thought that was so fun. Some parts of this book I enjoyed reading. Some parts got really boring for me. That's why I stopped the book so often, because I would get bored of it. That's why I'm gonna give it the rating that I gave it, because sometimes it was boring, sometimes it would pick up and be like, yes, I need all the details. So Daphne goes to Drew's wedding on Cape Cod, which is, wow, fancy, because Drew is like a millionaire, billionaire, heiress, you know, something like that. I missed that detail, but she is like an heiress to like her father's whatever. So they went to like a private prep school. Daphne only had a scholarship, so she was one of those kids, and then the rest of her like school was like one of the rich preppy students who have like mommy and daddy have money, that kind of situation. So she goes to Cape Cod, and the fashion designer comes back in to give her clothes for the wedding so she can model it. I kind of had my suspicions, but I didn't like say, aha, I know it. If you read it, you probably would be the kind of person be like, it was so obvious and you didn't get that. Well, sorry, my Scooby-Doo clue thinking didn't kick in. But yeah, it was a pretty good story. Some of the plot points didn't add up. It was a fun story to read, so I gave it a 3.75 as well, because honestly it was boring at times. Like towards the later half of the book, when the murder mystery was going on, that's when I was sucked in. Overall, pretty good book. 3.75 I think for me. Definitely need to pick up more of those kind of books, especially in fall times. So the next book that I read, I was at jury duty and I started it while I was there. It wasn't a great setting for this book, because Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune should be like a summer book you read anywhere else but a courthouse, honestly. So I think that was my fault. That's why I didn't enjoy the book, because I was in a room full of people. I still gave it a 3-star review. So the book takes place in Canada, takes place at a lake. Meet Me at the Lake, of course. And Fern is the female main character. She inherits a lake house resort. So it's like one of the beach resorts but at a lake. And she inherits this lake house, and she doesn't really like want the business. She didn't want it from her mom, but now that she's passed, she has to like step up, and she doesn't want to get rid of it because it was her mom's and her mom loved their business. But I think 10 years before she moves to the city, one of the Canada cities, don't quote me, I don't remember, and she meets up with this guy named Will, and they go on this like date, but it's technically not a date because she currently had a boyfriend at the time, and I messed up my mascara, whoops. And during that time, like, they have such a fun day together, and they promise each other 1 year to that day they'll meet at her lake house and they'll see if anything could happen. So she goes there and he doesn't end up going, and they don't see each other again for 10 years. He goes over to her lake house because he's like this tortured artist. He's not an artist anymore. He was an artist. He works in like helping better companies now. Like, that's his job. And he tries to go off and help her business so they can like revamp it, and since she's taking over, so they work together with that, and that's kind of like the basis of the story. I felt like there wasn't too much chemistry, and just it wasn't my kind of story. Maybe it was just a me thing where I started it in a place where it was very boring, so I felt bored. Who knows? But I gave it a 3 stars. Honestly, it is a 3-star read for me. The next book that I read was called Call It What You Want, and I saw it on TikTok, and it was like, it had Taylor Swift references, so you should like read it. So I added it to my Kindle, and I was getting tired of reading physical books, so I'm like, let me go back to my Kindle because I need to like go back and forth because I've been enjoying that. I heard it was about a situationship and it had Taylor Swift references. I mean, the title is one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs off of Reputation. So yeah, that's why I'm like, okay, let me read it. Let me see what it's all about. And honestly, it's about a girl who goes to college, falls in love with one of those stupid frat boys, and it's just an on again, off again relationship. Honestly, I couldn't relate because I did not have that. I didn't fall in love with a stupid frat boy who like would break my heart and wasn't ready for a relationship. So I found it boring because I couldn't relate. And yeah, honestly, it's just a very toxic on again, off again relationship. Like, she would always crawl back to him. I kind of get it a little bit. It's her first love. And like, yeah, Sloane, just her character, I'm like, he's breaking your heart. He's upfront about it and telling you he does not want a relationship. And you're over here like, no, I need to crawl back to him. I love him. And of course, like, even though I feel like the guy, I think his name was Ethan. Yeah, Ethan, even though he was kind of mature to be like, yeah, I can't date you because thing, he always accepted her back. So it was both their faults, and there was no chemistry. It was just an on again, off again toxic relationship, and I gave it a 2-star, honestly. Now I just have to do my lippy. Yeah, we'll just chat about the rest of the books now. Okay, my makeup is all done, as well as my hair. I just put it down and then combed the curls out a little bit. But now that I'm done getting ready, we can just chat about books, and I can just sit here and talk you through. Next up, we have When in Rome by Sarah Adams. I was looking forward to reading both these books, so When in Rome and Practice Makes Perfect. When in Rome reminded me so much of the Hannah Montana movie. I don't know why, and it's been years since I watched it, but Amelia Rose, or her stage name Ray Rose, is a pop star. She is burnt out, like touring all the time. I get it. Like, honestly, pop stars need a break. Singers need breaks. So she has a mental breakdown. Like, I love her logic that she wants to recreate one of her favorite movies. It's an Audrey Hepburn movie. I forgot which one now, but it's really prominent in the book. It has something to do with Rome. So instead of like flying off to Rome, Italy, she Googles Rome and it sends her to Rome, Kentucky. So she has this old like car that she's had since high school, before she got famous, before she became a pop star, and it breaks down because it's so old in front of this guy's house. He is a pie shop owner. He makes pies. He inherited it, and he has a few sisters, and of course they end up falling in love, and like the town like accepts her. They know she's like a pop star and who she is, and that's why it reminded me of the Hannah Montana movie, because all the townspeople are like, we are going to protect this girl. The paparazzi roll in and like they hide her away, and it's just so fun. They fall in love. It's very grumpy sunshine. He is very grumpy. She's not like total sunshine, but she's like a happier, positive person, while he's just like so grumpy. It was a good book. I gave it 4 stars. Loved reading it. Then that leads me to Practice Makes Perfect, and I love the cover to this. It's so pretty and I love having it. Totally going to display the book on my bookshelf. It's gonna go somewhere where you can see the pretty cover, because look how pretty it is. So this one is about Noah's sister. She appears in When in Rome. She is like the little innocent sister when she's like a grown woman. But I can relate to that, because even my family treats me like that sometimes. So she's going on these dates, and her first date was a disaster. Good thing the executive protective agent, because this book says it so many times, I've been calling him a bodyguard, but no, he is an EPA, and he alliterates that so many times in this book, which is funny. It like becomes his personality trait, saying he's not a bodyguard, he is an EPA. So Will is, as I said, Amelia Rose's bodyguard. So they're in town because Amelia moves there, and some people got wind that Amelia is in town. So he comes out to protect her, and he runs across Annie while she's on her disastrous date, and they're a little bit friends. She knows of him. She's tired of being boring on dates, so she asks Will's help. So it turns into like fake dating slash he becomes her dating coach, and of course they end up falling for each other. It's like good girl, bad boy. He's all like tattoos and she's like goody girl. I just love the aspect of them and how they came to be. the flower shop, the small town. Everything is so cute. Again, a 4-star read from me. So the next book that I read is Once More with Feeling by Elisa Sussman. I loved Funny You Should Ask. I read it this time last year, I feel like, and I did enjoy that book. So I was hoping to enjoy this one. She writes very good second chance romance. That's like her favorite trope to write, I feel like, because this one as well was second chance romance. So the characters in this book has a pop star, a boy band, just what I love. I do love that so much. Katie Rose was a teen pop star, so she was truly like the Hannah Montana, like a teen pop star that everyone loved, and she was dating the boy band member who was like the hottest up and coming boy band, and in my head I was just thinking about One Direction. I love the premise of this story, like pop stars, boy bands, my favorite. I love those kind of things. So reading about it, I was super excited to pick this up. So Katie Rose, which her real name is Kathleen Rosenberg, so she just like cut it and became Katie Rose. She is dating the like member of the boy band Crush Zone, I think is their name, and his name is Ryan. So they're like dating, and I think either she opens up for him or the boy band opens up for her in like their concert. I'm not sure what it was, but something like that. And one of the boy band members, she kind of like, it says it's supposed to be enemies to lovers, but she kind of became friends with Cal, which something happens like 10 years ago. It's like one of those 10 years ago stories, and then now, so something happens, like a scandal happens, her career, her reputation gets ruined, and she is not seen for like 10 years. No one wants to hire her because of what happened, until that other boy band member comes to her with an opportunity to star in like a new musical, and that's what I think she originally wanted. Her dream was to become like a Broadway actress, not like a pop star. So that takes place, and then she has this best friend who is helping her, and it really sounds like an interesting story, but I didn't really like enjoy it too much. I did give it a 3 stars. Let's take a hydration break because I've been talking for a good hour straight. So those are all the physical books that I read. I decided, since there was like a week and a half left of August and I finished my TBR technically, I was like, free reign, you can do whatever you want, you can read whatever you want. And speaking of free reign, I read Rein Me In by Kayla Gross. I think that's how you say her name. Again, I'm very bad at authors' names, character names, details. This was such a good book. Again, cowboy romance. Can you tell the theme of what I did in August? I think you can. So this was a pretty good book. I enjoyed it so much. This one is little brother's best friend. So it has reverse age gap where she is older and he is younger, but it's not a gross kind of thing. They're only like 4 or 5 years in age, and he's like 20 something and she's like almost 30. She comes back to town after her brother's tragic accident. In her mom has an accident, so that's why she comes back. She moved away because like that was what her grief was telling her, but she came back to her hometown. Her dad owns this ranch, and she's also a professional, I was gonna say professional cowgirl. I mean, she is a cowgirl, but she's a professional like writer, like in Done and Dusted, how Clementine was the same thing. So I think they're the same like profession. Again, the accident forces her not to ride, just like in Done and Dusted. It's very similar, both of those, and like they're just, this book, Blake has more grief than Clementine did, so they're doing it for different reasons why they didn't ride. Like, you can really tell that he's making an effort. He wants to get to know her, he wants to like comfort her, he wants to be with her, and she's like, no, I'm not dealing with this. And of course they slowly, like, it's a slow burn, they slowly get together, and it was such a fun like small town cowboy romance. And just like the others that I read this month. Really enjoyed it. It was a 4-star read for me. Now we're moving on to the last physical book that I read in August. I honestly finished it the last day of August, so I'm still counting it. I read Marriage for One by Ella Mays. So since I was done with my TBR, as I said, I went on to my Goodreads and found a book that I had on my physical TBR for so long. So I went down to the bottom, looked to see what books were there so I can finally like cross it off, and I came across Marriage for One, and this is one of the first books that I bought in my book haul. You can see that here on my YouTube channel. I believe that was 2021. It was also one of the first books Book Talk recommended me to buy, so this is really special to me. I think I have like the indie edition, like the one with the cover of the guy instead of the fun cartoon cover, because last month I read To Love Jason Thorne and To Hate Adam Connor, and those books were so good. I love the covers to those, and then I think she republished them with a publisher, and they have like a pretty gorgeous cover like this one right here. So it was a pretty good book. I enjoyed it. Their names were Jack and Rose, and they do mention Titanic, don't worry. I was like, are they going to mention it? They did end up mentioning it. Was a marriage of convenience story. This is one of the first things when I started getting back into books. I did not know that was a trope, marriage of convenience, because I wrote a short story back in my creative writing class that had that same like trope, but I didn't know that was a trope. You would think my creative writing teacher would teach us that was a trope, but he didn't. So it had that. It was very grumpy sunshine, forced proximity, all those fun tropes into one. I really enjoyed it. This was a very slow burn. It was over 500 pages. Didn't have to be that long. I don't understand why some books have to be that long. It's very sweet, but it was very slow. I don't know why I put up with it, but I went on, I read it. I wanted to find out what would happen. He had a secret, and I wanted to see how she would react to the secret that he's keeping. And overall, it was cute. Very grumpy sunshine. He was such a grumpy bear. I don't know what is up with these men being such grumpy bears. Please let me know. Like, is your significant other grumpy? Because I've never met a man who was as grumpy as the people that I've been reading in this book, in these books. I gave it a 4 stars. It's finally off of my physical TBR. And also it was on Kindle Unlimited, so I got to read it on there too. And I wanted to do an honorable mention because I started A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I'm currently in a book club with my neighbors here in my apartment complex. So I started it this month, but I didn't finish it yet because we're currently on pause because everyone has to catch up. We're reading like halfway and then meeting up and then the other half again, so just wanted to mention it. So far, love it, but I have a separate reading vlog and you'll see more details about that. But I did read it in August, technically the first half of it. So that's everything that I read in the month of August. I read 16 books. So here is all the books that I read. I made a cute little graphic for my Instagram. If you want to follow my Bookstagram, I'll link it down below because I post like these cute little graphics and updates on my reading so you can see what I'm reading throughout the month. So yeah, it was a very colorful stack this month, and then 10 books on my Kindle. Kindle Unlimited is really worth the money for me if I'm reading that many. Honestly, I don't think I'm going to read 16 books in September. Hopefully I do, because I think that is the most I've ever read in a month. That is it for me. I will link everything that I put on my face and all the products that I use in today's video, as well as all the books that I mentioned down below in the description. And there you have it. That was my very rambly, chatty, get ready with me while talking about the books that I read in August. I do hope you enjoyed this video. Please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye everyone!